Hello, it's Autumn with StampingAVE. We're going to get started in just a minute. So go ahead and grab some designer series paper. You need a 6x6 and your paper cutter handy. If you want to get started, the dimensions are right here on the sheet of paper. So let me get it pulled up on my other side. All right, so we are live at the Stamp Therapy Thursday. I've always been calling it Stamp Therapy, and I really think that's what it is for me. I like to get out and get my creative juices going, and it happens right here at this beautiful table. So I have my website right here, and you should be able to visit that and catch up on things, and visit whenever you have a chance, because I post things almost weekly. I'm getting a little bit better at it. So today we're going to be using the stamp set Happy and Heartfelt, and then we're going to be cutting up our designer series paper, whatever you have. If it's directional, you probably want to have your top and your bottom like this. So first you're gonna cut in 2 inches, and you can use the full length of this, or we can trim it down. I'll show you the first card. The second cut you're gonna make, you'll have this left over, and you're gonna cut off another 2 inches, and then what you have left will be a square, a 4-inch square, and you're gonna line your points up on your paper cutter and slice that diagonally across. So the first card that we're gonna do uses this 2-inch by 6-inch piece, and what you can do is trim it down, or you can leave it a little bit longer. So let me just do some adjustments here. In last month, in February, I featured the Celebration products that I had, but now I'm going to use March as a month to showcase the beautiful designer series paper that Stampin' Up! Has. And so today's designer series paper is the Heart and Home paper. And so the first card number 1, I cut my base at 4 1/4 by 11. Hi Colleen, hi Sandy, I'm actually watching, yay! Then this was 6 inches cut off of here, but what I did is I cut it down to 5 1/4. So you'll see the designer paper 2 by 5 1/4. So I trimmed off just 3/4 of an inch, and that allows you to have this frame right here. And then I used, I guess I found out this is not a current punch, but it is really, really close to the Label Me Fancy punch, and I think that would work just as well. So we can go ahead and show you how to do that layering with the punches. And I will go ahead and make that while you're cutting your pieces. So you've taken your 6x6 and you have sliced off 2 inches of that. And then for this card, I trimmed off the 3/4 of an inch at the bottom. So that I could have a nice frame. My gray layer here is 2 1/4 by, see, I wrote that wrong, 2 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then I throw my stuff on the floor. That's not helpful. Gray layer is 2 1/4 by 5 1/2. And you could center it. My base is the 4 1/4 all the way down by 11 and then scored at 5 1/2. Sometimes people like their cards to open this way, but if your designer series paper is directional, you're going to want to have a portrait card here. And then if you punch your sentiment out and you use a coordinating color, what you can do is take and cut that in half, and then just going to put a little bit of sticky on each of those pieces, and I have magically given myself a little bit of extra fake paper. So then on the back you have that gap, but that won't matter when you throw some dimensionals on and stick that right on the front of your card. Not upside down though. Alright, so there is card number 1. You can add a little ribbon here and there if you need to. I'm probably gonna do that on one of the next cards, not this one. This is my favorite, so that's why I started with this one, called it card number 1. So on to card number 2. Card number 2 is, even though it wasn't the next cut, it's going to be one of your diagonal pieces. So if your paper is directional, you may have to make some changes about how you're using this. So for card number 2, my paper is not directional. I think it can, it can be if you look at it too many different ways, but here I have some sprigs of my floral pieces going upwards. And so on this one I used a different punch. It is the Label Me Lovely punch. It's my favorite punch right now, the number 1. So this is my diagonal piece, so it's 4 by 4 and then sliced diagonally. And then I have put a little embossing texture on my base layer. I guess I should just call it my layer. So that layer of the fresh freesia is 4 by 5 1/4. And if you want to add texture, you certainly can, or you can even stamp depending on what you're using and what paper you have. So I do have another set to show you as soon as we get through all 4 cards. My base is just the traditional 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And then I did the same fun trick with the punch. Cut that gray layer in half and taped it a little farther out, and I have instantly coordinated that punch. So I'll go ahead and do some assembling. Apparently I chose different words for this one. Nope, I'll swap them out. Haha, I got ahead of myself. It's alright. So, if you need more time to cut, you can always come back and visit me. I'm going to load this on YouTube as well, so you should be able to find me. StampingAVE. I'm using a Stampin' Seal, which we're getting used to each other. It's a new relationship. It's very sticky compared to what I'm used to, so sometimes it gets a little hairy. Alright, so if you have something that's directional and you want it at the top of your card, that is no problem. But I will put mine down on the bottom. And then these little guys are curly. Again, this is the Label Me Lovely punch, And I'm gonna cut on the flat side, cut that in half to allow myself a quick layer. I find this one can be a little tricky to layer, and I don't know if it's because I was using the glue before and not the tape. But we'll see. This one went good. I got my jitters out earlier. That's good. And then I'm gonna go really happy and heavy on the dimensionals because I want to try and add some ribbon on this one. And what I like to do with my ribbon is zigzag it. So instead of using purple, which I think would blend in too much to the background that I have, I'm going to use the pale papaya, which is also a coordinating color. So I like to zigzag, and I look at the front when I do this. I don't know if that's good or bad, either way. And I just go back and forth. And then I always trim my ribbon at an angle. So hopefully I can trim good on screen. And you can see that I do try to stick those onto a dimensional. It looks like maybe one more would help me. Or if you have the strips of dimensionals from the edges, that works too. So you can see I have good coverage there. Being awesome is just your thing. Thanks. Thank you, Colleen. I see you like my color choice. Now, pale papaya is not my favorite. Really, it's probably the last, but it really looks nice with these. As far as my favorite in colors go. So this is the original, and then I just added a little extra here. You could always tie a bow if that's more your style. So we'll go ahead and set card number 2 aside, and I think you're gonna find that card number 3 is very, very, very similar, so I switched out the colors and turned it at an angle. So card number 3 is using the other half of your diagonal 4x4. It still has the base that is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. This is my most traditional card base. Again, I've texturized my main layer, which is 4 by 5 1/4. And then this is the everyday label that I've used here and chosen we have to celebrate this. So now I'll bring in my pieces, and it looks like I was getting started. So I have already cut my gray pieces in half, which no problem. Maybe this time I will tie my ribbon around my layer, see how that looks. Another thing I was thinking of using was my metallic pearls. Might even still throw those on because I like them so much. Let's see here. Okay, so I might have to pull in. Ooh, it's kind of a tough choice. I feel like Sandy would tell me to put both on there. She likes ribbon. Gosh, I want to go with the papaya again, Colleen. Okay. Yep, I'm gonna do the papaya. I think, because it'll go with the base. Oh gosh. There's not much purple in my paper, so I'm gonna go with the papaya. I mean freesia, sorry. There's not much freesia in that one. So my quick non-measuring is always to the edge of what I'm doing, and then I wrap it all the way around and that. This is not going to give me a bow, it's going to give me a knot. So basically it's 3 times around. 1, 2 around the back, 3 across the top. And I find that if you tie over, under, and then you keep using this one as your over, under, not too tight, don't tie too tight because then you get a big wad of a knot. So this will squish down nicely because I haven't tightened it super tight. And before I stick anything down, I think I'm just gonna have a little look-see if I like that. Move it down, and then I'll probably end up keeping that there a little above it. So I will scooch this up just to get my tape on there, my stamp and seal. And then I'm gonna scooch it back down because you can see how loose it is. It's giving me a little time to work with it. And then before I stick it on my grid paper on accident, I'm gonna get it on my card base. And then the other thing that I wanna do is pull in a dot and stick that underneath. Oh, these dots are a little dry. I've been cleaning, so I'm finding some things that I didn't know I even had. Kind of fun, kind of scary. Go ahead and trim up my ends so that they'll fit inside my envelope when the time comes. And I'm gonna finish off my tag with my sentiment. This is by far my favorite to layer like this because it gives you a little bit more to line up on the edges, but this one I gotta shift a tad. Okay, and then we need dimensionals. Again, not upside down. Oh yeah, I like that. So pretty. So again, this is just adding a little bit with ribbon. So that is card number 3. And our last card is so simple, but so sweet. Card number 4 is the small piece, the 2x4 of our 6x6. And so if you recall, the paper that I'm using is actually 12x12. So I cut out a little corner of that piece and went to town cutting this out. So my base is the same as the last 2, 5.5 by 8.5. And then the designer series paper is the 2x4. So the garden green around it is 2.25 by 4.25. Fixie. All right. And I just really like how simple, clean and simple is, I think, what this technique would be called, because the time for your eye to rest around it, and just a nice little easy thank you that will stick together here. And I'm not gonna add ribbon on this. Don't scold me. I like it just the way it is. Oh, see? Our new relationship. We're not getting along right now. There we go. And then this one has a really nice, pretty tall flower. Oh, no ribbon. See, I knew Sandy would give me a hard time. All right. How about if I add bling, Sandy? Would that be better? Metallic pearls. Okay. Colleen is commenting she likes the One Sheet Wonder and that we can do it without ribbon. And I just think it's just sweet the way it is. So I will add that to my quick little stack here and show you all the cards in one again. See if I can get them all on the same screen. Got a little bit of a mess everywhere. Not just here, there, but everywhere. Okay. So we have card 1 up top, card 2 and 3 on the diagonals here, and card 4 is this bottom piece. So this is using the Heart and Home Designer Series paper. That is on page 58 and 59 of the catalog, the January to June catalog. And this little beauty is 12 by 12 paper, so we have a lot more paper to use after this. But I want to show you what I did using the Flowering Fields tulips and the Timeless Tulips stamp sets. You call it the Joanna Games. It is. It's very, very pretty. The other side I didn't really showcase, but here's the Timeless Tulips, and I mostly use the phrases from here, but I think it goes okay with the Flowering Fields Designer Series paper. So here we have card 1, and you can see I left this the full length, top to bottom, so it's the 5.5, and I didn't trim it down and leave the edge. So we have Poppy Parade, Calypso Coral, and Rich Razzleberry. And then this card opens book style instead. And then card 2, I went and I did a tall card. And I used the Hippo and Friends, I think, for the labels here. I like those, and the iridescent jewels are splendid. Here's card number 3 using the other diagonal piece, and I went ahead and punched out the tulip after I stamped it. And then card number 4, I did change the direction on that one. You can see I did it this way, and then I also left the 4 to go all the way to the edge, and this is the only one I added texture on, but this was, oh sorry I bumped the table there. So that was the only one I added texture on, and I do like it. It adds a little bit of variety. So this is another way to use this One Sheet Wonder and create these cards. The original idea I was leading from and was inspired by is from Cindy Lee B, and she had used the Whale of a Time Suite, I think is called. So she had a lot more festive stamps and stamping around, but I like how these turned out. Since flowers can't always be my favorite, I like it when I actually get them completed. So this is our One Sheet Wonder, and next week we'll still be featuring the Designer Series paper, and what my hardest thing is deciding which side to use sometimes. So on this card we are going to showcase the front and the back because you'll be able to see it all the way on the inside. So we'll have a few different ideas. This card is not nearly as involved as what I did today, but nevertheless very beautiful. So I hope you'll join me next Thursday at 8 p.m. and see how we can use both the front and the back of our Designer Series papers so that you don't miss out on anything that you're paying for. So please join me then, and until then, I hope you have fun stamping, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.